Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching. Thank you for joining us. Today is the day. It is April, and it is about time that we uncover the Roo 233S for the first time for the 2023 seasons. So if you guys are new to this channel, we purchased this 2022 Rockwood Roo 233S last year and had a ton of fun adventures, and we ended up covering it up in the fall of last year. So this is actually the first time I am going through the process of uncovering it today and kind of doing the whole de-winterization process. So I'm a little nervous because I am hoping everything's gonna be okay, and I'm sure everything will be, but there's really only one way to find out, and that's to dive right in.
Do you lie awake at night? Are you afraid to turn out the lights? Is there something you're scared of? What's there out in the dark? Make sure to keep all your windows locked. Do you surrender? You try to stay awake. These walls you can't escape. Here's one for the
Well, that was pretty painless. I got the cover off in about 5 minutes, so it was way easier to take off than it was getting on. I will say, so this was a Camco cover that we bought through Camping World, and the buckles are not very great on it. I'm gonna put a shot here. So one of the buckles when we initially opened up the camper was broken, and then the buckle that was on the lower front part here was also not able to come undone when I just went to go take the cover off. So other than that, everything was pretty uneventful as far as taking the cover off. The camper all seems to be in good shape from over the winter. So let's go inside now. I'm gonna drop the batteries in the battery box and let's go check the inside out and see how the inside looks. We are now inside the camper, and I do not see any major sign of anything that stands out from the first look here of an issue, which is pretty awesome. The fridge is on because I just kicked the batteries back on, so we're just going to turn this off. You guys are just reconnecting the batteries. When you reconnect the batteries, the fridge will kick itself on for you. So make sure you go inside and check everything to make sure that everything is supposed to be off is off before you leave wherever your camper is being stored, because it would not be fun if you show up and your batteries are dead. Just checking the bathroom out here. Everything looks to be pretty good. I don't see any sign of mice or water damage or anything like that. That's a really good sign. The tent beds seem to be holding up. I mean, everything was covered, so you wouldn't think there'd be any water in the actual camper, but we're in good shape here. Here's the damp raid box that I put in here in the beginning of the, well, when we closed it up. I mean, this stuff is usually pretty hard, and it's damp, but it's not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. There's no water in the actual plastic tray itself, so even the moisture levels weren't that bad in here this winter. So now the next step from here is to hook the camper up and bring it somewhere where I can open it all up and just make sure the slides are operating correctly, lubricate all of the mechanics, make sure everything opens, closes, does as it's supposed to do, because our first trip is going to be Memorial Day weekend with it. And I just want to make sure that there's absolutely no issues that we have with this prior to that trip. You know, I was so excited to get the camper uncovered. I forgot to introduce you guys to Frank. He's our new keychain. And he's also a flashlight. Well, it's been a few weeks since we uncovered the Roo. I've got a little helper with me today. It's been a few weeks since we uncovered the Roo. It's been pretty nasty weather, and then any other day we would have possibly had to come and do the rest of our kind of de-winterization process here. We've been busy. So for you guys, it's been a couple seconds. For us, it's been a few weeks. But now we are going to hook the Roo up, and we are going to tow it down to Stubbs' house, where we are going to accomplish a few things today. So we are going to fix that shelf that broke during last season. We are going to install our LevelMate Pro Plus today. We are going to wash the entire outside and inside of the camper. And then we are going just to make sure that everything inside the camper is good and ready to go for our first trip to kick off the Fun Parent Summer of Fun 2023. So Let's get some air in these tires. That's the first thing we're gonna do, is check the air pressure because it's been sitting all winter, and hit the road. So I've been tossing the idea around about getting a toolbox that I can wheel in and out of the camper and just store inside the camper when we're traveling, to kind of put all of these Ryobi tools and all of these Cobalt tools in, because this compartment, when I have these tool bags in here, if I have to take them out, everything has to come out. So as you can see, I had to take a whole bunch of stuff out. I did put some other stuff back in once I took the bags out, but I don't know. Comment down below, let me know what you think. Should I go and invest in like a wheel around toolbox that I can kind of just keep underneath one of the tent beds when we're camping, for easier access, and then have a little bit more storage here to be able to put more stuff that we use on the campsite outside storage? I'm just curious what your thoughts are. All right, we got all opened up here, and we are all leveled out to install the LevelMate Pro. First observation is, as you can see here, we did get water on the canvas as I opened it up, and I'm not sure if that water was because it was sitting in the track and when I opened up the door it just fell in. I think that's what the case is though, because I mean, if this water had been sitting on the tents, it would have probably dried and stained it. But so far so good. So this is the LevelMate Pro Plus. The LevelMate Pro Plus, the big difference between this and the Plus and the regular LevelMate Pro is the Plus also works with your Apple Watch. So let's open it up and check it out. Taking the cover off the box, you got a little quick start instruction guide here. Download and install the LevelMate Pro app. Slide the LevelMate Pro power switch to the right. Start the LevelMate Pro app, and the setup wizard will guide you through the rest. So that's going to be the first step here. This is the device itself. So it is not too big. So my plan is to mount it like right here. And the idea with that being right there, which is right next to the door, is you have to be able to switch this on and off, or be able to have it constantly plugged into a power source. So one, I have a power source right here in case I need it. But my plan is to use the internal battery and not have to plug it in, because we do plug a couple other things into this as well. But I have to be able to get into the camper, turn it on right when we get to the campground, and I feel like this is probably the best location for that. Also inside the box, they supply you with a little charging cord and also 2 screws for mounting it. So fingers crossed that this will be just an easy install, but you never know with me. Okay, so I kicked the device on, and now it is telling me that it found a new device. So we are going to say yes, let's learn this device. Okay. Now it's got me going through the whole registration process here, which I'm not going to bore you all with. All right, so now we are going to go to the setup wizard. All right, so we have options here for travel trailer, fifth wheel, pop-up camper, hybrid camper, Class B, Class C, or Class A. So obviously we are working with a pop-up hybrid here next. Temporarily mount the LevelMate Pro on a vertical surface using the included removable glue strip. Put your tow vehicle a few feet in front of the normal tow position. Sit in the driver's seat. All right, so it's asking me to basically put the LevelMate Pro in an area where we're going to be using it, and then go sit in my tow vehicle just to make sure that we still have a decent connection. So let's go do that. Okay, so we are in the car now, and I backed up to roughly where I would be if I was backing the camper into its spot. I'm already leveled and everything, so I don't want to get too close. And let's check the signal strength. Signal test successful. Okay, so we are good to go there. All right, so now let's go to the next step. And we're gonna go with inches. We're gonna use Fahrenheit for temperature, and driving side of road. We drive on the right side of the road here in the good old US of A. All right, so now measure the outside of the tires. Okay, so now I've got to do some measurements here. So let's get a tape measure. So I put all of the measurements in, and then it went through the rest of the setup process, and asked me if I wanted to have a compensation for the slide out. Because when the slide goes out, it will tilt the camper a little bit, but I'm actually technically level right now with the slide out, so I'm gonna skip that step. I'll keep you posted when we go to camp for the first time, how that affects the actual LevelMate Pro's ability to recognize that. But we're completely level, went through the entire setup process, and it's saying that we're good. So now I'm just going through the tutorial. I'm gonna mount it where it needs to be mounted and call it a day. So I got everything mounted here. The problem I'm having now is the front to back level is showing that it's an inch off, despite the fact that the level that I have that I've been using says that I'm dead on. So I think what's happening here, and let me turn you guys around. I think what's happening here is where I mounted this, the board is not completely straight. So if I push on the board, it goes level. I'm gonna have to do some troubleshooting and figure it out, but that's something to think about if you guys are getting one of these. Anything that has any kind of flex to it, it may not be the best place to mount it. So next what I'm gonna do is flush all the antifreeze out of the system now. So I've already taken off, if you guys are looking for where the access panel is in a Roo, here's where your outside hookups are, and then there is a panel that you have to remove, which is right here. That sits right in this spot here. And then this valve right here was switched, which way was it? Down, and that was what pumped the water from the winterization access. So we're just going to go and flip it back up like that, and that's going to put it back so that the city water can get connected to it. The first thing I'm going to do is run water through all the lines, bypassing the hot water heater, and then once I have all the antifreeze out of all the lines, at that point there I can put the bypass switches back over for the hot water heater as well. Okay, we're all hooked up. One of the other little items that I picked up this year is this 90-degree elbow. And basically what all this is doing is just taking the pressure off this connection here when the hose is hooked up underneath. So they're super cheap, but it saves this piece here from getting broken off at any point. Okay, moment of truth. Stubbs is turning the water on, and then we're gonna kick the kitchen sink on first.
I'm also back here.
And Kaylee's ready to take a nap over here, just getting ready for our first camping trip. Hopefully everything's all right. Look at all that pink stuff coming out.
What's that? Why is that pink?
It's all the antifreeze coming out of the system.
Antifreeze smells weird.
It does smell weird, you're right. Doesn't appear like we got any leaks. Just a reminder to also make sure that you turn the water on to hot as well and cold, so that you're getting both lines flushed out. Not nearly as much in the bathroom sink, but
No leaks.
I don't see any leaks. That's a good sign.
Yeah?
All right, so last but not least, we're gonna do the outdoor shower, and then we are completely de-winterized from a water perspective, except for the pump line, which we'll go through as well. Okay. So now we're putting some fresh water into the fresh water tank, and then what I'm gonna do is run that water through the pump to get all the antifreeze out of the pump as well. Now we're back inside. I've got fresh water in the tank, and I'm just gonna kick on the pump, which is the water pump switch that is right here. So we're gonna kick that switch on, and then that is gonna kick the water pump on when we turn the water on now. The last step in the de-winterization process when it comes to the hot water heater is there's two bypass valves that need to be adjusted. I'm gonna pull this over. Out of the way. And then we can lift this up. And they are gonna be one here and then one down there. So we're just gonna flip this. So the valves are now open on the hot water heater. We're gonna go put the new anode rod in right now, which gets screwed in right here in this bottom hole. And then we're pretty much done with the water system. So then we can move on to the next task.
I think that's cleaning, right?
Okay, anode rod is in. as you can see, I'm now putting water into the hot water heater. So I'm getting all the air out of the line. I'm getting all the air out of the line now, and then once the air is out of the line, then we can turn on the hot water heater and make sure we've got water. All right, kitchen sink is now pumping out water pretty steadily, and so is the bathroom sink. So we should be good to kick on the hot water heater and just make sure everything is working properly. And there she goes. She just kicked on with the gas. So this bin here behind me is where I keep all of the leveling blocks, hoses, sewer attachments, power cords, everything I need to get the rig set up and ready to go. So this is the compartment that is in the slide. So as you can see, if you look in here, we have the dinette on the other side of this. So there's some space back in there, there's space back in here, and then there's this kind of more shallow area right here. So what I'm trying to do is maximize space in this, and looking for something a little bit more forgiving than these Rubbermaid tubs that I had that fit perfectly in there, but they have no give. So what I ended up getting was these 3 bags here. So yellow one is for electrical cords, blue is for fresh water, black is for black tank stuff. And really the idea here is that I'm hoping they're gonna fit in here and give me just a little bit more wiggle room to fit things like my wheel chocks, be able to move stuff around a little bit easier to get back to the leveling blocks when I need them. And I just didn't have that forgiveness. I had to keep taking everything out every time I needed to access it. There's a regular theme here if you haven't noticed, and it involves having to take everything out every time you need something. So I'm gonna pop these guys back in and see how much room I have. I can tell you that I went from using 2 giant Rubbermaid tubs and a clear plastic tub down to just these 3. So I'm hoping that when I put these in, there's actually gonna be way more room in here than there was before. Well, that could not have worked out any better. So all 3 are in. So the black tank bag is actually right here. You got your electrical cords and then your fresh water tank stuff here. And then I still have a giant space right there to still access all the leveling blocks I'm gonna need when I first get to the campground, and also have room for another bin right here, which I believe what I'm gonna probably end up putting in there are gonna be the X-Chocks. I might even actually pull the Anderson levelers out and pop them in one of these gray tubs and see if I can get that gray tub to just fit right in there nicely. Fingers crossed. And there we go. Anderson levelers and the X-Chocks fit nicely in there. So now they are not going to be bouncing around in the storage anymore. So I was able to consolidate everything down and still have these 3 bins left over, which is perfect because I believe that bin will fit in the front compartment on the camp side. And then that leaves us with these 2 bins to use inside the camper if we want. One of the reason that I got these bags, if you can tell here how wet the inside of this bin is, that was from the water hoses sitting in there over the winter. The hoses never really dry because they have a fabric outside. So now that they're in these bags, I'm hoping with the mesh, they'll air out a little bit and they'll be able to dry. I'll also be able to leave them outside when we're camping in the sun, and they'll be able to dry out quicker as well. Well, the shelf has been fixed. We also identified another issue. So first, let's talk about the shelf, which was in here. So if you guys remember back to the Otter Lake video we did last year, spin you around here. If you remember back to the Otter Lake video we did last year, this shelf here had collapsed. And the reason why it collapsed is the support that is under here was not screwed in. So we were able to get some screws in here to get that to hold in. So now we have a functioning shelf here. She went inside, bud. And yeah, inside the house. Now the other issue we discovered was this panel here across the way, that was where the mounting bracket is for the front tent bed, was sagging down. You could actually see the edge of the wood hanging down here. So all we really did was we just took 2 finishing screws, one here and one here with finishing washers, and just kind of put those in to give this way more support. I did notice that when we bought the camper at the Hershey RV show, the model that they had there had the same issue with this panel piece come down. I just assumed the kid yanked on the bar and broke it, but I guess it's more of a common thing than we thought. So again, if you're looking to buy a hybrid camper, these are types of things that you're gonna have to think about. It is not self-contained. You are contending with tent beds. So it's not always going to be the best fit for you and your family, but for us, this is what we can work with for the time being with the tow vehicle we have. Well, it has been several weeks since we de-winterized the camper at Stubbs' house. I am back at the storage unit today. A couple things I have to do. I still have to put the new water filter in the water canister. I got that from Amazon. It actually arrived the afternoon after I got home from de-winterization. So now I have to do that today. I also picked up one of those Ryobi wheel toolboxes that I discussed earlier in the video to put all of our tools in. I'm gonna try to put some of the leveling stuff in there as well. That way when we arrive at a campsite, it's easier to just take the one toolbox out, have everything I need in there to get set up, and then we can just make that the last thing that we put back in the camper before we pull out. So this portable honey tank, as they call them, I call it the poop tank. It becomes a real pain if you have to do anything in this back storage compartment here when you're in storage, because you have to literally take the entire thing off. I'm just bringing that to your attention. If you're planning on putting one of these on the back of your 233S, you will completely block that storage compartment out. So I got the canister off. It came off pretty easy, but as you can see, there is a lot of water that kind of just spilled in here while I was taking it out. So I'm just going in with a towel just to dry as much of it as I can here. Yeah, just be mindful. When you go to take the canister out, it is going to be filled with water unless you somehow manage to drain it before. But I'm just going to dry everything out the best of my abilities here and then pop the new canister in. I see a lot of posts online about people asking how to get the water canister off. This is the tool that comes with the camper to take this canister off. If you got a 233S, you're gonna put it on and then you're gonna pull so that the handle's facing the back of the camper and then pull towards you. That's the easiest way for me to describe how to do it if you're trying to figure it out. It's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, just like anything else. But if you're not mechanically inclined to figure this out, put the handle towards the back of the camper and then you're gonna pull towards you to loosen it. This is the water filter that I opted to go with. So this is a Pro Water Parts. Really what you want to take away from it is it's a 2.5 inch by 10 inch filter. So any of these cylinders that are 2.5 by 10 inch should fit. As long as it has that little top on it there, you should be good to go. As you can see, there it is inside the canister now. I'm just going to screw this back up into there. Generally what I'm going to try to do is tighten this hand tight, as tight as I can get it without over tightening it. The reason being is these things could be a bear to get off if you try to tighten it with the tool and then try to take it off after the fact. So hand tighten as tight as you can get it and then use the tool to loosen it. Okay, so a little bit of an issue here. Got the water filter, thought it was the right one, just realized it is not the right filter, and the reason being is this top has to fit inside the top of the input in here. So this will not screw on as it sits right now. So this filter is not the right filter for this camper. So now I have to go back to Amazon, hopefully be able to try to return this one and order the correct one. It's been a few weeks. I don't know if they're gonna take it back, but we're gonna try. So I'll have to do this when we get to the campground this coming weekend, but man, that is really annoying that that water filter wasn't the right one. It was the same manufacturer and everything. It's just frustrating, but either way, we're gonna move on to the next task at hand here, and that is going to be going after this new bad boy right here. So this is the Ryobi Link toolbox system here. It's got 3 boxes. So you've got the largest box, medium-sized box, small box. My hope here is that I'm gonna be able to fit all of my hand tools in here, power tools in here, and then that leaves the bottom one available for any leveling blocks, Anderson levelers, the chocks, all that kind of stuff. So if I can get everything I want in here, it's gonna be a home run. I have a feeling the medium-sized box is gonna be too small for all the power tools, and I also feel the big box might be a little too small for all the leveling stuff I need. So I might have to improvise, but as long as I can get this campsite compartment emptied out here, I'm gonna be fine. Because as you can see, I mean, it's a cluttered mess when I have to try to get in here for anything. And anytime I need to take the toolboxes out, it becomes a real pain in the neck. Well, the hand tools were a success. I've got all the wrenches, the socket wrench, the smaller sockets. What's the other? I'm not sure. All the smaller socket wrenches in here. All the hand tools all fit nicely in here. This is great. This is gonna make it a lot easier. Now let's move on to the medium-sized box and hopefully fit all of the power tools. I am looking, and it does look like that bag is a lot smaller than I remember it. So it may actually fit nicely in here. So I got everything to fit. The lid has a little bit of an issue closing, but we can flex it. I don't know how I feel about that. I think what I may do is try to figure out, like, I don't know. I might have to go through this again and figure it out. But for now, they all kind of fit in here. There may be some stuff in here that I really don't need to keep in for the camper. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Okay, so here was what I ended up doing. I ended up I have a whole bunch of these plastic clamps that we use for the gecko covers that I had just thrown in the toolbox. I took those out. I'll find a place for those, but I was able to take the battery charger and the batteries out and the bits out, put them into this toolbox, which allows it to still close, because generally when I get to the campsite, I plug the battery charger and batteries in anyway, so they're gonna come out as soon as we get to the campsite and get set up. That then opened up a lot more room in here, and now this lid closes the correct way. Looks like we're going to be using the toolbox sooner than expected. Our X-chocks just broke here. This bolt came out, so I got it back in. I just got to tighten it down now. All right, so the X-chock got put back together. I was able to get the Anderson levelers, the X-chocks. I put the level and the X-chock wrench up in here so that they're easy to get to. But I was also able to fit the battery, the air pump, and the Ryobi little air blower that we have here as well. So I was able to fit all of that in this tub, but really what that did was that cleared out this entire space right here. And there's some stuff in here now that I gotta move, but it basically cleared out this entire space for me to now be able to put stuff that we use on a regular basis at the campsites in here, like stuff for the kids, the tablecloths, everything that we need to grab access to that I'm constantly having to go and then go underneath the bed to get out. I can now fit back in here. It also cleared out, well, let me turn you around here. This was the gray tub that we had on the driver's side. Let me just show you that real quick here. So that gray tub was sitting right here. So now what that did is that gave me easy access to the leveling blocks that are back there. So that when we get there, if I do need to grab leveling blocks, they're easily accessible versus having to pull everything out to get to those leveling blocks. There it is. It is right now up against the stable steps, folded in. The idea is you can get to your campsite, drop these steps down, roll this right out, and you're ready to go. One of the other things you're probably asking yourself is, okay, well, what happens if you have to stop somewhere? What happens if you just want to hop into the camper real quick? Where do you put it? It's on wheels, so it's not that big of a deal for me to just pop this little arm up here. It's hard to do it with one hand. Pop the little arm up and just wheel it into the camper a little bit. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll get the update on the filter as well. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. We are officially kicking off again, like I said, the Fun Parent Summer 2023, Summer of Fun. And it's gonna be an exciting summer. We got a ton of trips planned, and I want you guys to come along on the adventures with us. So click that like button, click subscribe, comment down below if you use a similar toolbox for your camper and where you keep it when you're traveling versus when you're not traveling. I'm curious to see what you guys all do with it. But with that being said, we're done, son.